Starts, sits, and sleepers are coming your way. It's Feel Good Friday and week 11 of the fantasy football season. Let's have a time, folks. It's the IBT podcast coming at you.
Cause I've been in tune, out of touch, coming off the bench, trying to shake the funk, check a stat line, see who's up, that over under hit too clutch.
And I'm trying to avoid getting carried away with the jet sweep, sleeping on a trick play, predicting all of my moves like they seen every play. So I'm running it back, head down, get out of my way, and it's for the law with only one thing to do. I guess I'll say a prayer and put it all on the line for you. What they don't know, something they haven't seen. I find a gap on the screen and hit them right in between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it.
Just one thing to say, yeah, what they don't know, something they haven't seen. I'm off that mean Joe Green, it got me fading between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Feel Good Friday, November 17th. And I am so thankful for another weekend of professional football on deck for us. We'll certainly chat all about that in today's program. I am Seth Woolcock, and I'm joined by a guy who might as well be the Bank of Norway with the heater he's on right now, founder of Pros with Joes, founder of Green Screens Media, big brain motherfucker, Eric Romoff. What's good, Eric?
Man, what is good is watching this bankroll swell as we get into, or I guess towards the end of the second week of college basketball. So you mentioned Green Screens Media. That is where we are seeing plenty of green screens and breaking down college basketball, DFS, and bettings for you. And I mean, on the other side of the coin, I finally thought we had a nice thing on Thursday Night Football, and instead it was anything but, right? Like when we finally get a good game, it ends up being pure chaos.
Absolute blue balls is what I felt like. That's kind of how I felt going into the night. We'll certainly chat more about that later on in the program. And Eric, what's on the agenda for this weekend? Anything other than college football or college basketball, college football, and professional football?
All of the above. We also have, what do we have going on? We've got my 6-year-old's birthday party. So I'm going to go out and injure myself at the trampolinium. We're also doing a Friendsgiving on Saturday night. So we got a pretty packed, kind of heavy social calendar type of weekend ahead of us.
I feel you. I will be hermiting in on Sunday. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything then. Saturday, though, all I got to say is, like, when you're making plans for stuff, check the fucking location where you're going, because Katie signed us up to get some mini pictures done, mini session of a photographer over in York County, the neighboring county. I was like, yeah, that sounds good. York's like 25 minutes away. No, it's like a full hour. We're on the other side of York. So I got to get my ass up tomorrow, get a little bit of work done, and then head over to York for some pics, man.
Man, you gonna be all suited and booted for these picks, though? All swanky?
I don't know. I might have to break out the cardigan suit again. I don't know if I'll go full suit.
Okay. Those fall time picks, man. People go out for them.
They do. They absolutely do. And we're gonna go all out for the show tonight as well. Eric, you want to tell the people what we have on deck?
Yeah, we got a nice little Friday in store. We'll start with Front and Center, where we will give you a rundown of everything that happened in a very eventful and in many cases painful Thursday night football game. Then we'll head into matchup management, where Mike Stoyanov will be joining us. We'll be answering all of your questions here in the chat. So if you haven't put them in already, make sure you drop them into the comment section. We'll flash them up and get them answered for you. And then, as always, we'll close out with our Sure Things Sleepers of the Week, where we will go a little bit deeper down the rankings and find someone that might not be on the radar who we think can at least get up to flex territory in week 11.
Yeah, we're hot, man. We had a great week in week number 10, so hoping we can do the same thing again. Looks like we got the IBT family back in the chat. What's up, Derek? Thanks for always making time for us, man. Good to see you again. Albert, good afternoon, IBT. Good afternoon to you, as always, Albert. We got Jay in the chat. Look at these handsome gentlemen. And Jay, throwing a little shade here on this Friday afternoon. Seth, I love you, but I have zero sympathy for you getting up early. Hey, I get it, man. I don't have kids. I can get up early, kind of wake up with the cat, do my thing, and have no issues. So I understand.
Well, for the record here, when you said you're waking up early, what time are you referring to?
I don't know what time I'll be waking up, but let's just say I went to bed at 5 a.m. last night. So like my
Woo.
sleeping schedule is all kind of effed up. So 4 hours, 5 hours is what I think I got last night. I'm hoping to maybe hit 6 or 7, but I'll be ready either way. Katie said, you wanted your Christmas cards. Yeah, I want to do Christmas cards. Katie in the chat calling me out. I did want to do Christmas
Dang.
cards, but I didn't think we were going for pictures 45 minutes away. So,
Man, hey, IBT fam, if you're in the chat, drop your name, mailing address, phone number, and social security number, and
yes.
Seth will send you his Christmas cards.
I will certainly do that. I'm seeing some questions coming into the chat as well. We'll get to those here in just a little bit, but let's kick this bad boy out here with our first segment of the day, front and center.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between. How about you come to the place we can have some fun? Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. Come and give me another, 'cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
All right, front and center, Bengals 20, Ravens 34. And as we touched on early in the show, this was blue balls. And I feel like I need to stop watching football because I missed the opening 2 drives of this game. I was up in my office working. By the time I come down, shit has already hit the fan. We got injuries all over the place. And let's start with maybe the biggest of the night, Eric, as far as long-term concerns go. Mark Andrews suffers season-ending ankle injury. Tight end 2 goes down just like that.
Yeah, that was absolutely brutal, right? And at a point in the season where it felt like he and Lamar were really starting to click, at a point in the game where it seemed like he was about to completely explode, right? Like if you were a Mark Andrews overbetter like me last night, I think he was like up north of 20 yards within, I don't know, 15 seconds of this game starting, right? So like definitely felt like there was a big one loading. Obviously, it hurts you in the immediate term in terms of week 11, but now that he's out for the season, like this changes the entire landscape of the tight end picture, right? Like there are some middling guys that might be out on your wire or that maybe you were considering cutting that now move up another rung on the ladder, right? So it's a complete gut punch to see him go down like that. The thing for me, like I really hope that the competition committee takes a look at this hip drop tackle, right? Like that's absolutely what did it for him. It's the same thing that took out Tony Pollard in that playoff game last year,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Like very clearly it is a dangerous maneuver. So I don't know why we can't, double time on getting that out of the game.
I think if you do roster Mark Andrews, you can stay with the Ravens if you want Isaiah Likely. It's hard for me to trust him. We know what Likely's talent is, but there's also a guy who, with no Mark Andrews week 1.4 points on that day. So it's really tough for me to trust Isaiah Likely here. I don't know if I have high hopes for him moving forward. He did have some splash games a season ago, but also had some donuts, some one-pointers as well. So I'm not overly enthusiastic about him, but OBJ, I think, is coming into his own. He looked great, like probably the best I've seen him since the Rams Super Bowl a couple seasons ago. 3 straight games now of at least 11 PPR points, 4 of 7 targets here, 116 yards. Any interest in OBJ are likely for you moving forward?
Yeah, I would actually probably prioritize Likely, especially if I was a Mark Andrews manager, right? Like yes, he's disappointed as recently as this season, but the role of the tight end in this offense is significant, right? So it might take a week or two for him to kind of get the training wheels off, but I do think he'll contribute in a meaningful way, and especially in the context of today's tight end market, right? Like finding someone that's going to get as many looks as I would project him to have is hard to come by, right? So he need not be on your wire, and he needs to be on your roster if you are a Mark Andrews manager. In terms of OBJ, I mean, look, we're looking at a 3-week sample where things have really pointed in the right direction, right? So I wouldn't mark him as like a priority start on any given week, but we do have a few more bye-mageddons ahead of us in the coming
Yes, we
weeks.
do.
He can certainly, have a role to play in that regard. And kind of like with Likely, he probably shouldn't be on wires, right? Because this whole passing offense is kind of on its head. At least it's up in the air in terms of where Lamar is going to look first. So he's a nice little lottery ticket to put on the end of your bench.
I think bottom line here with losing Mark Andrews in the fantasy football landscape, as you put it, though, Eric, it's these guys like Trey McBride, Jake Ferguson. They're looking pretty good all of a sudden. So I think they're going to have some value, if not for your roster. Maybe they have a little more trade value in your league as well moving forward if you already have a stud tight end. Second injury of the night, man, Joe Burrow. This one just sucked from a viewing standpoint. We didn't get to see the Burrow-Lamar showdown we were hoping for. And now he's suffering a sprained right wrist. And it's really concerning here, Eric, because this is something now under investigation that they might have known heading into this week. So how do you feel about Joe Burrow and the Bengals moving forward? I don't want to be the pessimist guy, but I think they're kind of fucked here, man. They got the Steelers, Jaguars, Colts, Vikings, Steelers again, Chiefs, and Browns to end out this season. I don't think you're cashing any playoff tickets you had for them. And I certainly don't think I'm liking the prospects of the wide receivers moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what the long-term prognosis is, right? Last night everyone on fantasy football Twitter was immediately lip readers when he was, supposedly saying that he can't grip the ball when he came back out, and there's a rumor that he was found saying it's going to be surgery, right? So like all will unfold in the coming days. But I mean, look, this was a Bengals team that was completely white hot, right? Like obviously they lost to the steamroller that is the Texans last week, but prior to that point, like they were really getting healthy and getting into a groove, right? So it definitely takes a lot of wind out of their sails. Now they're going to have to really scrap and claw to even stay on the graphic as we talk about playoff implications. And clearly, I mean, yes, Jamar Chase saved your day with that very late touchdown, but his upside is going to be severely impacted along with T. Higgins for however long Joe Burrow might be out.
I'm with you there. Let's round it out Thursday night football with the shower beers. Gus Edwards had a nice day for him. If you started Gus Edwards, man, like good for you. This guy's been one of the best values at running back this season, Eric. Likely his fourth RB1 performance in the last 5 games. If you held on to him, if you kept the faith with Gus Bus, you've been rewarded these last 5 games. To me, he's an RB2 moving forward. We saw a little bit of Keaton Mitchell, but also saw some bad from Keaton Mitchell in this game as well. And then Joe Mixon. Welcome back, Joe Mixon, to some fantasy relevance here. 16 for 69, added 5 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown. Maybe he's the only beneficiary if there is no Burrow, because they're just going to have to feed Mixon like hell.
Yeah, in theory, right? Like we'll project his volume to go up a fair amount if Burrow misses any time, but we also will project the level of attention that he'll get on the defensive side to increase in a representative fashion, right? But look, we said it all year long, right? Like even if it's inefficient volume goes such a long way in this game. So yeah, arrow pointing up on Joe Mixon. He obviously did plenty for people that fired him up in this Thursday night game. And then looking over on the Baltimore side, I mean, there are a couple of key storylines here, right? Like first, Gus Edwards, in spite of the flashy play of Keaton Mitchell over the last few weeks, very much so is holding on to his role in this offense overall. And really what we're seeing is Keaton Mitchell eating into Justice Hill's workload. And last night was the point where we saw him kind of get over that line of demarcation. He actually outsnapped Justice Hill. He was right there with Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards had 25 snaps. Keaton Mitchell had 24. The opportunity share much more heavily favors Gus Edwards. He had 14 opportunities to Keaton Mitchell's 9. Justice Hill only had 2, right? So I think we're probably looking at, a 1-1A kind of situation with Justice Hill just sort of fading into the Homer Simpson hedge, right?
Thank God.
And then you also have to keep in mind that Lamar Jackson is going to continue running. Actually, he looked a little bit better as a runner than we'd seen in recent weeks. He he continued running after that ankle injury scare,
I
which
know.
had all of us clutching our pearls. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a bit of a roller coaster ride with this Baltimore backfield. But I mean, Gus Edwards is on pretty firm ground in terms of how they're going to use him and the type of workload you can project for him.
I'm right there with you, man. Love it. It wasn't a great Thursday night football, but I like the recap and the outlook moving forward for at least a couple of these players. Let's go ahead. Let's shake things up with matchup management.
Who you got?
Matchup management.
Who's it gonna be?
All right, and we are joined by someone we've been very lucky to get to know the past few football seasons. You might know him for his work in Blossoms or Billions or The Dark Knight. I know him for his love of sandwiches and fantasy football. He's the great Mike Stoyanov. Mike, how are you doing today, my friend?
My guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing real good. You might not know my face from The Dark Knight. As you know, I die like 30 seconds into that movie, and you never see my face when we're in the mask. But I do appreciate the shout out. And I'm so glad to see you guys. So sorry about the sort of minor life emergencies the last couple times we tried to get me here, and it won't happen again. I'm here in LA, enjoying the nice weather, and I'm very glad to be here for this final Scott Fish Bowl 13 week of the regular season. I'm representing the Krusty Burger division, and real excited about it.
Hell yeah!
And
Mike.
I want to make my first bold take of the day. Probably not so bold, actually. The hip drop tackle gone next year is my prediction. You'll get 15 for it if you do it, and I guarantee you the first few guys that do it are going to get hit with fines. It's a terrible. It's almost always results in an injury. It's just bad news, and it's got to go. It's got to go the way of the horse collar and the hitting the defenseless receiver. It's just bad for the game. So good riddance, and my prediction is we won't be seeing guys doing that next year and beyond.
I will take your word for it, Mike. I am hopeful that is the case. What's been new in your life, man? How is LA? And I have to ask, like, what is the big difference? Is there a difference in mindset when you go from New York to LA? Are there certain commodities out in the West Coast that you're like, oh, I can't wait to get back to LA and eat here or see this?
Definitely. It's definitely a different vibe, like everything from the people to the way you live your life. And I definitely miss the food. I love the sushi here. I feel like it's a lot easier to eat better here. You come out in mid-November and it's like 72 degrees every day. So like it's easier to sort of stay in shape. Someone's blowing up my phone already. I love both cities, and I'm happy to spend the majority of my life in one or the other. And I definitely, I might be a little more. I mean, look at this whole thing. This is very LA, so it might be a little more LA than New York, but I love them both.
There we go, man. The best of both worlds. That's Mike Stoyanov for you. Mike, before we get to a couple questions here, I want to talk about a couple injury updates that could affect lineups this week. Are you confident in any Browns pass catchers? I know a year ago you were very heavy on David Njoku. Do you still like him? He's been better with these backup quarterbacks, but it is Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, who's going to be the starter here. What's the confidence level in him and Amari Cooper?
I mean, Njoku's been a disappointment this year by any terms you may want to apply. I mean, I guess I didn't know that. That's a good little factoid that he has actually played better when backups are in. So I mean, he, tight end is so thin just generally that he's probably startable in a lot of leagues. If you in a 10, even in a 10-team league, but definitely in a 12-team league, there's probably 3 or 4 teams that can't really do much better than Njoku. So, I'd trot him out there. Amari Cooper's so talented. I've never been a huge sort of, Cooper stan, but like, I think when a backup comes in, the guy least affected and maybe even potentially getting a bump is the wide receiver one, just because the backup's just generally not good at checking down or running through his reads. And so he tends to, especially if your one is really good and a great route runner and a separation monster, like he's just going to chuck it to that guy a lot, I think. So, I mean, I don't love it. I mean, even with Deshaun in there, I really am not huge on the Cleveland passing game. But I am actually kind of excited to see. I mean, they've got to give the rookie some serious run. Like, let's see what
Yeah.
he's got, because I feel like, Watson and Daniel Jones are cautionary tales about how easy it is to drop 200 or so million on them, and it's a
Oh
mistake.
my God.
So,
Yeah.
you got to see what this kid got. Hopefully he's great, because I really am not sure what Watson has left. I hope I'm not going to get, hate tweets here, hate notes. But I don't know. He didn't really show out this year, and it's been a while. Unlike Jones, at least he's coming off his best season and looked good. Like Watson, it's been a while since he was Deshaun Watson. So, yikes.
I think you're on the side of popular opinion there about Deshaun Watson, so I don't think you'll get too much hate for that. Eric, I want to throw it over to another injury happening right now. Dameon Pierce still hasn't practiced as of Thursday. We don't have the reports yet out on Friday. Is Devin Singletary locked into your lineups here? Because I have a couple of decisions to make with him in my lineups. Should I go over a D-Hop or a Rashee Rice? Is he locked and loaded? He just got 30 touches, 150 yards, and it's a good match against Arizona.
Yeah, so breaking news, as I also cover the Texans for the High Point Creator Network, Dameon Pierce was back at practice today. We don't have the report yet, so I'm assuming that it's going to be a limited session, right? It would be really, really weird for him to go DNP full.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to watch this one down to the wire and see how it shakes out. If Dameon Pierce plays, I actually still have Devin Singletary ahead of him by a couple of spots, right? They're both in like that kind of flex territory. Obviously, if Dameon Pierce does not play, then you've got Devin Singletary coming off of the best game of his season and arguably his career against the second most favorable run defense in the Arizona Cardinals, right? So wheels up. I mean, he would probably push like borderline top 12, maybe even top 10 kind of guy if it is just Singletary out there. So one to watch, but yeah, Dameon Pierce was spotted back at practice as of about 35 minutes ago.
Screw him for doing his job. Mike, how do you feel about Raheem Mostert and Achane this week? This is a backfield. They've been logging limited practices all week. The indication is that they will be going. It's a smash spot, it seems like, against the Raiders. However, I'm seeing Mostert kind of dropped in a lot of consensus rankings across the league. Are you worried at all that Achane comes back and Mostert goes to the wayside here in the first week back?
I mean, if I have either one of those guys, but obviously, especially Achane, I'm excited and I'm starting them. I think that offense is so potent, and when they were both playing together, they were running well. I see it's true that Mostert has slid a little from his numbers, but those weren't really like you couldn't. He wasn't going to sustain that. It was crazy. So I like them both. I didn't know if Mostert is limited. He's been limited in practice. He's hurting.
Yeah, it's been limited practices for both of them. They're both a little banged up, but it is a little weird coming off the bye week. But indication is they will be ready to go. Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to imagine you have two guys better than either, especially Achane. Like if you have two guys more startable than Devin Achane, if he's announced to be starting, they're not going to put guys out generally. Like every once in a while, a guy with a hamstring goes out a little too early and tweaks it, and then and you get burned. But I feel like the NFL and all these teams, these guys are ready to go if they're going to put them out there. So like if he's out there, you have to make the assumption he's 100% or he's not going to, he's going to do his job. So I love Achane this week. So, if you got him, start him.
Las Vegas.
I just want to say on the Singletary thing, just generally, I think if you have a running back, even if he's way down sort of the regular RB ADP, who suddenly finds himself generally alone in the backfield, especially if you're in a league where you get any kind of bonus for per carry, and especially if the guy is known to be an adept at catching the ball, that guy is almost instantly like literal a top 10 running back in most situations. Even if regularly he's like, somewhere between RB 30 and RB 40.
Yeah.
Like that guy becomes so startable. Dante Foreman is a great example.
Like
that guy had like 2 all world weeks in the last month. And it's because there's just no one there. It's like his volume is going to be crazy. So anytime like a running back is looking at like a massive volume situation, I'm very, very tempted to put them in against guys generally more talented and on better teams. So that's my
I
2
wish I
cents.
would have saw that writing on the wall last week a little bit, because I was very scared with Devin Singletary. He hadn't been efficient all year, but we're seeing it now. So it's good to see that. Mike is ready to go with Raheem Mostert and Achane as well. Let's get some questions in the chat here, guys. Let's start out with Derek. He needs to start either Josh Allen or Sam Howell. Holy hell. Can you believe
That's where we are now.
What reality is this, Mike? Are we down a Terminator route? Like, are we in an altered universe right now? And where are you going on this one?
I mean, Howell has a great. I'm trying to check the Buffalo matchup. Okay, Jets. See, this is why. This is why this is a debate. You know, Howell's playing the Giants. I am there. It's an interdivision game. Howell looks good. His numbers are top 10 and a lot like yards and like this is just a smash start for him.
I know.
I'm debating between Herbert and Howell in one of my leagues. So like, I get this. Like, that's just and again, there's this sort of codicil that like, oh, what if they, it's a blowout. It's like, oh, what if they put up 35 points real fast and then they ease up?
Right.
It's like, well, they put up 35 points. So probably he had a good day, even if they stopped trying at that point. So you know what? let's just throw caution to the wind. I would go Howell here.
Oh, Eric, are you backing Mike here with the Howell call? It is really hard to want to play Josh Allen against the Jets, man. They've just been so sensational in that secondary all season long.
Yeah, look, it's definitely a downgrade spot for Josh Allen, and I like how we were piling on you for your Sam Howell love on Tuesday,
I
and
know.
you bring in fellow Sam Howell propagandist.
Let's go, baby,
for the Friday show. Look, like what I will say is that these two players are closer together on rankings than I ever would have thought I would see, but it's still Josh Allen for me, right? I've got Josh Allen down to QB number 5. I've got Sam Howell up to QB number 7, right? So, for me, I'm gonna go on the Allen side. I think it's a bit safer that way. But yeah, I mean, you could absolutely ride either side of this and very likely have a pretty similar outcome.
The Jets have made every elite QB they faced this year, including Allen already, look very mid. So they made Herbert look sorta, and Mahomes had a really, really sort of down game. So it seems like they make up their mind to like take away that guy, that like production. So, but I mean, I don't blame anyone for starting Allen ever.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think I would honestly, just to break the tide, go with Mike. I just think how it's the guaranteed volume here, man. And Tommy DeVito, Danny DeVito, I don't know what his fucking name is for the Giants, but he's not going to be able to move the ball. And I think that's just going to give Washington more and more possessions. Could they get up here and maybe just start running the ball with Brian Robinson into the dirt? Perhaps. I don't know if I see it happening, though. It's just that Washington defense is terrible, and I think we're going to see the volume there. So we're throwing caution to the wind there. Derek, I see you have another question here. I'm going to talk about Jalen Guyton in our sleeper segment, so hold on to that one, and we'll backtrack there. Looks like we have one from Albert here, Eric. Pick 2, full PPR, Ken Walker, David Montgomery, and Rachaad White. Wow, hell of a core here for Albert.
Yeah, this is a tough spot. Of the 3, I've got Rachaad White the lowest by 2 spots. So I'll follow rankings here. I'll go with Ken Walker and David Montgomery. We saw as recently as last week, just how effectively both Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs can coexist in this backfield and still put up plenty of fantasy productions. There's been plenty of coverage of David Montgomery giving that goal line touchdown back to Gibbs, right? So look, the Lions, like they're one of the more potent offenses in the entire league, and they love to run the ball. So I'll stick with Monty here along with Ken Walker.
Okay. Where do you fall on it, Mike?
I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on Montgomery, but I'm actually going to look at like which way each guy is trending. And I feel like it's White. I feel like White in this last sort of month is really starting to play like a lot of people had hoped he is. And I feel like, I mean, Walker, it's so close. Walker's really good, but they are starting to give Charbonnet a little more, I think, the last couple of weeks. I could be wrong. Someone's probably going to be like, no, they're not. But I'm going to go with Monty. I'll agree with you. And then I will take White. I just think the trend line is heading this way for him. And I feel like the ceiling might be a little higher for him.
Yeah,
he feels caution to the wind. This is caution to the wind day.
He feels safer. He feels safer that he's going to get that guaranteed volume, unlike Ken Walker. I just think I like the matchup a little bit better for Walker against the Rams than going up against the 49ers, man. They've looked like a wagon out there.
I gotta check matchups before I open my mouth. That's always, I'm like, oops.
It's all good, my friend. Here's a trade question for us, Mike, from Icy Hype Beast. Great YouTube name. Hey, guys, I get Breece Hall and Kelsey for Eckler and Kincaid. Should I accept full PPR? Are you smash and accept on this one, Mike?
I wish I knew if this were dynasty or redraft.
We're gonna assume redraft.
I think this is redraft.
We're gonna assume yes.
I think I like this. I mean, getting Travis Kelsey, I'd do this.
I can't even answer this because I'm so biased because I have so much Breece Hall and Kelsey everywhere that I would love that side. I just think you're getting 2 top 12 players rest of season in this trade. Kincaid's awesome, Eckler's awesome, but I think the gap between Eckler and Breece is a lot smaller than it is Kelsey to Kincaid. Eric, do you concur here?
Yeah, completely. I would definitely want the Breece and Kelsey side. I think you're talking about comparable assets in terms of the running backs. And, while Kincaid has been phenomenal, there's still the possibility that Dawson Knox could creep back in there and throw this Buffalo offense on its head, right? So, getting these elite options at their position, and you're getting much more stability in the role with regard to Kelsey.
Okay. Looks like we got Toronto Dave in the chat. What's up, Dave? Good to see you, man.
That dude.
And then we got another Derek. We got 2 Dereks in the chat tonight. Ooh. Good afternoon, guys from Texas. Hey, yeah, there you go. You got another Texan down there. I wonder if he's also a Houston Texans fan. Here's a question from George. Would you trade Brandon Ayuk and Kincaid for Chris Olave? He has Hawkinson already, and he needs a wide receiver upgrade. He'd start Dell in his place. Olave is on bye. Well, Mike, you are the Chris Olave stan of the show. Where do you go on this one?
That's so close because Ayuk has had such a good year. I mean, obviously, week 1 or, on draft day in August, this is a no-brainer. But I think I might go ahead and do this just because you're looking for that Olave surge. I mean, that, him to start really producing like everyone thought he would. You've already got Hawkinson, so you're kind of covered. But this is a very even trade. And if you did not have an elite, like literally top 3 tight end, in addition to Kincaid, I probably would not do this. But since you do, I would throw caution to the wind and acquire Olave for the stretch run here. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one, to be honest, because I think you can get can you get something back with Chris Olave? Like, it's always great to free up a roster spot, go out and add someone speculative off free agency this time the week, but can you get someone back? I think the Ayuk side is a little more value to me, and I don't know why he's running away from starting Tank Dell this week. He's my wide receiver start of the week, Eric. No Noah Brown. Robert Woods not 100% healthy. We might not see Nico Collins, or he might not be 100% healthy. And Tank Dell's been the wide receiver 16 this season on a points per game basis. I don't know if I'm doing this just to get away from starting Dell this week. How do you feel removing your Houston bias?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do this explicitly for the purpose of looking to find someone to start over Tank Dell. Tank Dell is going to be in inside the top.
He's getting Olave, right?
Yes.
So if he does the trade, he does start Dell. Which is fine, is what you guys are saying. That's not, exactly. Not a huge.
So, I mean, adding Chris Olave to a Tank Dell wide receiver core sounds very appealing, right? I am with Mike as a resident Chris Olave stan. I think a lot of this has to do with the pass volume of this New Orleans Saints offense, but also the way that they utilize him, right? Like, every single week, every time that someone asks about him, because he's one of the most asked about players in fantasy football, I will continue to cite that he is number 1 in the league in realized air yards and number 1 in the league in unrealized air yards. Like, they go to him so far down the field. He's all the way up there in red zone targets. He's all the way up there in end zone targets, right? Like, each opportunity they're giving him is implicitly and empirically more valuable than, a 4-yard bubble screen off the side that is a little bit more in Brendan Ayuk's playbook, right? So
and what's going on with Michael Thomas? And let's not forget that Debo was sort of like either not himself or not even in the game, and now he is back and at 100%. So that may affect Ayuk's.
Damn, are you guys talking me into this one?
Michael Thomas, is he hurt?
Yes, significantly.
Is he done for the season?
We don't know. We don't have full reports yet, but
he's done for the foreseeable future.
That's kind of what we're hearing. We're hearing it significant time.
Yeah, significant was the word that I heard used. I doubt that we'll hear anything more about him during the bye week, right? But as we start ramping up for the following week, we'll probably get a clearer picture.
I mean, Rashid Shaheed, as fun as he is, that's a pretty significant drop off in terms of like every down. Like, looking to that guy, he's kind of a borderline gadget guy. As fun and exciting as he is.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm liking a lot of. Again, the key thing is you have Hawkinson, so you are set at tight end. Yeah. You got a problem in week 13, but beyond that, that would be nice to have Kincaid for that 2 more weeks, but. Yeah, this is an Olave.
All right. Good luck there, George Cook. Here's Cart Chisel. Rest in peace, Burrow. Oh, looks like he played Burrow last night. Would you guys roll with Brock Purdy or try to trade for a QB? He's in a half-point PPR redraft, I believe is what that is saying. Listen, man, Brock Purdy is on pace for 30 touchdowns right now and over 4,000 yards. Like, that is a quarterback 1 to me. I love Purdy this week. I know you can't play him. I don't think if you already rolled out Burrow. I love the matchup against Tampa Bay. I'm fine with Purdy rest of season. Is there a quarterback 2 on the waivers I can grab? Maybe just have some depth there. I doubt Josh Dobbs is out there in your league, but is he out there? Baker's probably going to get dropped after this week. So I'm okay with rolling Purdy. Eric, if you have him as your quarterback 1 now and Joe Burrow on your roster, are you panicking at the position?
No, I wouldn't say so. Right. He being Purdy is already a QB1 on average today, right? He's QB12. That will ladder up another spot if there's any sort of long-term implications for Joe Burrow, right? And the other thing to keep in mind here, like, finding an equitable trade for a quarterback is one of the most difficult things to do in fantasy football, right? Yep. Like, nobody values them appropriately. No league values them the same. And specifically in your case, I wouldn't be surprised at all if you already have some dog water offers in your inbox because everyone sees that you lost Joe Burrow and they're going to try to lowball you, right? So, like, by all means, go out there and try to improve your team by way of trade, but keep in mind, like, you're probably not going to be doing much better than Brock Purdy in return, and people are going to try to take advantage of the fact that they assume you're panicking because Burrow went down.
I agree. My strong hunch here is that the math just isn't going to work because the hit you're going to likely have to take to your starting lineup somewhere to get someone as opposed, and then with juxtaposed with what Purdy's going to do numbers wise, there's just almost no way that's going to work out for you. Like, you're going to have to trade away at least 1 starter, maybe even 2 to get a top 5 QB. So, like, it's just not, you're going to lose at some other position. And then you're going to be like, well, look at that. I should have those guys I traded away plus, Purdy equals this guy and then some. This was not a good idea. So that's my strong intuition on this, is that you should roll with Purdy and keep the other starters you have intact and on your team.
Yep, I'm with you there, fellas. Mike, I want to get you out of here. We're going to keep answering some questions in short.
What did I do?
Oh, do you have time?
The segment's over. Okay, I thought I have.
Well,
look, it's Chris Olave. He's a talented guy. We like him. I don't know why you got so bent about it.
That's all right. I'm coming around. But I do want to. I know you had a question, Scott Fishbowl. It's your last week before the playoffs. Throw us that, and then I have a question for you as well before we get you out of here.
Well, I got speaking of the running backs and elevated running backs. Last week I started Foreman over Cook which ended up being a good idea, but it would have been even smarter to bench Derrick Henry. And now I got the same situation this week. I got Ty Chandler, I got James Cook, and I got Derrick Henry. Chandler has by far the best. So who sits? Who sits, Room?
Oh, Eric, can you give us the options one more time, Mike?
Ty Chandler versus Denver, Henry against Jacksonville, and Cook against the Jets.
And you need 2, is that correct?
Yeah, you sit 1.
It's hard for me to sit Derrick Henry against the Jaguars. I don't. There's some magic in the air every time these team plays that he just goes off. So that's really tough. Denver has been better against the run lately, but Ty Chandler's almost like what you talked about with Devin Singletary earlier on the show, Mike. Like, he's going to get a shit ton of volume this week, I feel like. So it's really hard to sit him. Eric, where do you lean on this? Because I think it's probably Cook for me is the odd man out.
I am going to do the cop-out thing and say that Alexander Mattison has not been ruled out yet. He is working his way through concussion protocol. This year in particular, we've seen a change with regard to this. More often than not, a concussion has become a 2-week injury where players are routinely missing a game and then returning. Prior to this year, the progression was they would get a DNP, then they would go into limited on Thursday. If they got to full by Friday, they were usually on track to play. Obviously, we don't have the Friday practice report yet, but Alexander Mattison, DNP Wednesday, limited practice yesterday. If he's back to full today, I don't think we can say with complete confidence.
I didn't know he was limited today, honestly.
So hopefully the decision is made for you, and that makes it nice and easy, right? If it is Ty Chandler without Alexander Mattison, I'm in lockstep with you, Seth. I would send James Cook to the Pine.
Okay. All right. And Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot, man. We're getting to the time of year. There's not really shit to do outside, at least if you're on the East Coast where I am. It gets dark at 5 o'clock.
California.
Yeah. Super cold out all the time, too. Mike, do you have any good TV, movie recommendations, whether that's something newer that's been catching your eye or anything that you just have a recommendation for?
I'll give you 2 from like opposite ends of the spectrum. We've been watching The Morning Show, season 3, really good, really interesting stuff, really talented cast. And then Loki, the new season of Loki is phenomenally good. If you're a Marvel person, Hiddleston is just so fun to watch act. And what's his name? With one of the Wilsons, Owen. No, Luke. Yeah. No, Owen. I'm sorry. It's confusing, even though they look nothing alike. Yeah. Owen Wilson is really, really good. The whole thing is good. If you like Marvel, people say this may be the best Marvel series yet made. So it's really good. And this is fresh stuff. Morning Show, I think, just aired its final episode from this season 3, and Loki is also just started streaming like a month ago. It's season 2. So check it out.
Hell yeah. Eric, you got breaking news?
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, I don't know if this has been confirmed, but the reporting is that Joe Burrow is expected to miss the remainder of the season with a torn wrist ligament.
Just watching his reaction and the way he was
behaving
on the sideline, and then the lip readers were like, he clearly says, "I felt a pop," and I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I'll see you week 1, 2024. Like that, I just had a really bad feeling that he was not going to be around playing football anymore this season. That's a shame.
Wow. Well, we're going to have some questions to answer here in Short Things Sleepers of the Week to make sure people are set with what to do at quarterback moving forward if Joe Burrow is not ready to go. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, man. How can we best support you rest of the year and moving forward as well?
Sorry, I missed that.
How can we best support you rest of this season and moving forward?
I don't know. Just keep bringing me back, man.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah.
Not even though the strike ended, I am still retired as far as I know, but hopefully, the phone will start ringing, and I will definitely let you guys know if I go back to work on
Hell
something.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Right,
hey,
thank you again. Awesome. Have a great holiday, guys.
Hey, you too, man. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you soon, Mike. And guys, let's jump into some sleepers.
It's the Short Thing. Sleepers of the Week.
All right, sure thing. Sleepers of the week. And before we jump in there, we still got some questions to bang out here, Eric. So let's get into a little overdrive here. All right, this is one from our guy Aiden. What's up, Aiden? Hope you're having a great feel good Friday, my man. Guys, I got what I think is a pretty major trade. Full point PPR. He's 7-3, and we'll give up Kyron, Hawkinson, and Mike Evans to a 2-8 team. That would be, and he would be receiving Michael Pittman Jr., Breece Hall, and Laporta. Does he take this? Wow, it's a really tough trade, honestly. I think in a vacuum, I think you're getting the best player in Breece Hall, so I think I'm for it. Am I being too naive here, Eric?
No, not at all. I think that's really the tiebreaker here, right? Like by and large, this feels like a pretty even deal, all told. So whenever that's the case, looking for the most talented player is a good way to break the tie. But for me, the word of caution that I will always put out there, like if you're going to go trade a package of this caliber, of these caliber of players, go shop it around a bit, right? Like it's fine if you prefer these players, if you want a little bit of upside with Breece, totally cool, right? But if you're going to ship out TJ Hawkinson, who will probably lead all tight ends in targets down the stretch run, if you're going to ship out a Mike Evans, who has played better than just about anybody expected this year, like just make sure that you can't get a little bit more, right?
Yeah, it looks like he says, Aiden saying here in the chat, forgot to say that I have Kincaid as replacement as well. So I'm all right with doing this trade, man. I think you're getting the best running back in the situation. I don't think Pittman to Evans is that much of a downgrade. So I'm all right with it. I think you can do a little better perhaps, but I do like getting Breece Hall back. So
I mean, if you've got Kincaid, right, like I would try to see what this deal looks like if you take Laporta
out
right?
of it. Yeah. Can you get a stud wide receiver? Yeah.
Yeah. Like if this becomes, Breece Hall and, a wide receiver 15 to 20 type, right? Like that would be much more interesting. And then you can just not have the decision at tight end every week.
Yeah. And even if you do get Kincaid back in this trade, I'll say Aiden, like, you can flip him to the Mark Andrews owner. You know what I mean? If you get Laporta back and you have, like, you can flip one of those rookie tight ends. Like, people need those tight ends more than ever. So not a bad trade, but, definitely worth reworking a little bit, like Eric said as well. Here's one from Derek R. Who should he flex this week? Metcalf, James Cook, Foreman, Dameon Pierce, Nuke, or Noah Brown? Well, Noah Brown's out, so you're probably not going to do that. You don't want to start Dameon Pierce, I think, even if he's healthy. If it's just one flex, for me, it's Metcalf here. I think he just has the highest ceiling in a game against the Rams that I'm expecting the Seahawks to have to throw a little bit around the yard to keep up in this one. So I would go Metcalf. He's the safest to me. Would you disagree, Eric?
I would not disagree. I'm scrambling to see if there is Khalil Herbert news out there.
Good question.
If it's going to just be Foreman again, I would argue that he's probably the safest, but incrementally more so than DK Metcalf, right? Like kind of a push in terms of their floor, and Metcalf's is exponentially higher on a week in and week out basis.
Yep. I'm there with you. Here we got Wesley, half PPR, Aaron Jones, Waddle, or Pollard at my flex. You guys have some damn good teams out there. Holy hell, Wes. That's a good team.
These guys out here buying low. You love to see it.
I think this week, and I know it probably sounds gross, I think I almost would go Pollard. I think it's now or never for him against Carolina. Like, this is the primo matchup for opposing running backs. They give up a shit ton of touchdowns. I think if he's going to fall back into the end zone, it is here. That said, I am expecting the Dolphins just to rain it on, but I like the running backs a bit more. Oh, I think Waddle's the safest, but I think Pollard has more upside. That's my question. Eric, your thoughts?
Ooh, I was with you until that last kind of gut reaction outburst. I do think it's Pollard. I would argue that he's probably the safest of the lot, and Waddle, like, especially in this offense and given his skill set, he's got game breaking upside, right? So like for me, like this is that last chance opportunity for Pollard, right? Like he had the perfect game script and set up last week and couldn't get it done, if he doesn't do it again this week, like, I mean, he is out of this conversation for you for the rest of the season easily. But yeah, look, like his role is still very significant, and it's an amazing spot. So I think that he projects to be the safest. Pollard.
Okay. All right. Pollard, Wesley, it's consensus over here. Thanks for the question, man. Hope you subscribe to the channel. Come back, hang out with us again. And then we got George asking, or wait, let's see. Okay. I don't think that's a question from George. Derek saying, thanks, guys. The Giants have shut down Howe last month, though. Still kind of leaning towards him over Allen this week, though. Yeah, man, that's a really tough one for sure. That we touched on earlier in the show.
It's not that tough, you maniac.
I like a little
Katie,
risk in my life.
watch your man, dude. He's got eyes for Sam Howell. He's over there looking at the DMV with those stars in his eyes.
I'll tell you what, I was on the South Harmon Institute of Technology show earlier this week. It was a Dynasty program. And I was asked, what would I give up for Sam Howell? And I was actually more on the conservative side of that show. So I felt good. I felt good. Yeah, Mike was willing to throw out a lot for Sam Howell. The Joker, full PPR pick to Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, Calvin Ridley, Jerome Ford, Jacoby Myers. You ranked them in this way for a reason. I know it's weird to probably start 2 Dolphins running backs, but it's a smash start for me. It's no question about it for me. Eric, do you digress?
I agree that those are far and away the 2 highest ranked players on this list. If you want to, kind of diversify your bonds a little bit, you could swap out one of them. I'd probably go Calvin Ridley as the next guy in. But I mean, look, like I do my best to follow rankings, to follow projections. Those are in place for a reason. And as evidenced as, the first 3.5 weeks of the season, like both these guys can very much so go off in the same game. Right. So, and unless this is the point where they decide to take the governor off of Devon Achane and he now gets 20 touches, then, you're still looking at a good, like 8 to 10 opportunities for both these guys. And that is plenty given how fast they are and given this matchup.
Las Vegas allows 4.6 yards per carry, Joker. Also the 4th most rushing attempts they've seen this season as well. So people are running it down their throats. I would stick with them. Great question, though, man. Hope you subscribe to the channel. Come back and hang out with us again. We got Thursday, 2-3-4-1-5. Or, sorry, totally butchered that. We got Thursday, 2-3-4-5. Thielen, Jacobs, and Pittman for Diggs, White, and Zay. Worried about Thielen because I can't trust Bryce Young. I get it, man. I totally get it. Can you get something back other than Zay Jones? That's like what's holding me back from this trade. Like, I do like Diggs and White. They're probably 2 of my favorite. Like, I think you're getting 2 of the 3 best players in this trade, but you are giving up like another 3rd guy almost for too much for Zay, in my opinion. Eric, where do you stand?
So maybe this is the eternal optimist in me. I read this as Zay Flowers as opposed to Zay Jones, and in which case, I think I like that side, right?
Now with Andrews,
getting the clear upgrade into that elite tier of wide receiver with Stephon Diggs. I know he's coming off of a down game. There are plenty of great days ahead of him in the remaining games of the season. White, we talked about earlier, right? Like that backfield is all his. The receiving volume is a thing of beauty. And Zay Flowers, like, look, I think we're going to see a lot of these wide receivers in Baltimore get a little bit more involved with Mark Andrews down for the season. And Zay Flowers has, already been a favorite target among the receiving core. And now, you get him an extra, 2, 3, 4 targets a game that could really put him over the top.
Look at Car Chisel in here breaking the news. Oh, he scooped you, Eric. And then Derek reacting. Oh, everyone's bummed out for a guy Burrow. Yeah, I'm sorry, Derek. I think we recommended a trade for Derek earlier this week with T. Higgins. So sorry about that, man. It happens. Shit happens. Are you trading Raheem Mostert for Brock Purdy? Because I'm probably not, unless I'm super desperate at quarterback. Like, I don't think it's like that far of a difference in value at this point. But Raheem Mostert has still been an absolute stud, and I just think you can find suitable replacements for Purdy off the waiver wire.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about with the other question, where I think they had Brock Purdy already, right? Like, this is a joke of a trade. Raheem Mostert, while there's valid concerns about how involved he'll be with Devon Achane back, is still, I think he's he's running back 2 on volume. And I think he's inside the top 10 on points per game, right? Like he still has plenty of value, far and above that of Brock Purdy, who's kind of, right on the fringe of QB1 territory. So, what I would say is wait for this game to pass. Raheem Mostert projects to have a very solid outing. I think once people see that tape of, oh no, Achane's back and Mostert is still contributing, you can get exponentially more than Brock Purdy by trading Raheem Mostert if you're so inclined to trade him.
Yep, I am with you there, man. Casablanca. Should I trade Tyreek Hill and Addison for Justin Jefferson and Jonathan Taylor for his playoffs? He also has CMC and Montgomery as RBs. I get the appeal here, but I think there's a lot of risk. I really think there's a lot of risk with this one, man. Like, we don't know what Justin Jefferson's going to be in this offense with Josh Dobbs back. Sometimes adding an elite wide receiver can actually hurt Josh Dobbs' production because he's going to feel forced to give Justin Jefferson those touches and go away from some of the, spontaneous playmaking he's been doing so far. So you have the best player in fantasy football, or the 2 best in CMC and Tyreek. I don't think I'm doing anything to shake that up. You have Monty as your RB2. So I get the trade. Eric, can you talk me into this? Like, it is a fair trade. I don't mind if he does it, but it's just hard to get rid of Tyreek.
Yeah, that's the rub, right? For me, I would probably want to know a little bit more about the setup of this league, how many teams, how many people you have to start, how deep your benches are, any scoring wrinkles, right? And in giving that qualifier really tells you all you need to know, right? Like, this is a very close trade to where I'd need to go down to the minute level to find a tiebreaker. Look, maybe I'm a bit more optimistic about what this offense can be with Josh Dobbs. But if you backed me in a corner, I think I'm probably going with the JJ side, right? Like, yes, Tyreek Hill is incredible and has the best chance to lead all fantasy scorers in any given week. I mean, Justin Jefferson is right up there with him, and Jonathan Taylor is an absolute league winner, right? Like, CMC and Monty, like, if you're talking about a world where you've got CMC, Jonathan Taylor, and David Montgomery is in your flex, and you're still trotting out Justin Jefferson every week, like, that's a pretty unstoppable combination, in my opinion.
Okay, I like it, man. I like it. Yeah, I think maybe I'm being stubborn, like, because you are getting some absolute studs back in that Casa. So I don't mind if you take that trade. I wouldn't, I wouldn't doubt you at all for it, man. So appreciate the question, buddy. Hope you're tuned in. Subscribe and come back, hang out with us again. Evan, start 2, D-Hop, Ridley, or Jalen Warren. I got to give you this one, Eric, because I've been struggling with D-Hop and Jalen Warren in a league as well. It's one of them to me. I can't trust Calvin Ridley right now. I know it's Tennessee. It's a pretty good matchup. They just weakened up their secondary a little bit too, but DeAndre Hopkins is getting, double-digit targets every week, seemingly, from Will Levis. He's the guy rest of season. And Jalen Warren, this is a game where I think he's going to get a lot of run too, just because I don't think the Browns can move the football. So I think the Steelers offense is going to look pretty good compared to Cleveland here. Could be a wet and miserable game up there along Lake Erie as well.
Yeah, of the 3, I'll be sitting Ridley as well. I mean, he and Jalen Warren are literally right next to each other, right? So it's kind of a pick your poison situation. I do think that you have a little bit more stability with Warren than you do with Ridley, but also, this Cleveland Browns front is absolutely nasty, and we have seen time in and time out one of the best ways to counterpunch a strong defensive front when it comes to run defense is by throwing to the running back out of the backfield. That is obviously a skill set that Jalen Warren has in spades, right? So I'll go with the Warren side. I think it's a little bit safer. But yeah, it's super close between he and Ridley.
Okay. All right. Appreciate the question. Evan Gittleman. Not Gettleman. Not right. Not Dave Gettleman. You can't be related, right? I think that's different spelling.
Dave Gettleman burner. And you're asking fantasy questions on a Friday. Weirder things have happened.
I appreciate it, Dave. Appreciate it, man. Here we got Frazee. Lamar for Derrick Henry. He has Hurts. I'm not trained for Derrick Henry. Like I get it. I think you can get more for Lamar, man. I think what does the Burrow manager have to offer after this news just dropped? In a vacuum, I don't hate it. I think it's even value, but I just don't want to trade for Derrick Henry rest of season. I think he has a good matchup potentially against the Jaguars this week, but rest of the way, man, if like he could lose you a week in the playoffs, Derrick Henry. That's why I'm scared of him right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to have concern about Derrick Henry. For me, like getting a starting caliber skill position player for a quarterback is a win 7 days a week, right?
For sure, for sure.
Like it's so hard to get value out of quarterbacks in a trade to where you get someone you're going to put into your lineup, you're winning that trade, right? What I would say is exactly along the same lines that you brought up, Seth. Like think about all of the quarterbacks that we lost this season, even just in the last 3 weeks, right? Like there's so many teams out there that are reeling that you could pick up the phone, drop them a little text, and bless them with Lamar Jackson. You might actually be able to get more, right? Like I think the Derrick Henry side is far and away the better value, but you have to be timely in the market, right? Like if you can find someone who thought they had a championship team and that window just closed because they had Joe Burrow, or they were lying to themselves and said they had a championship team with Deshaun Watson, you can go and get them right back on the straight and narrow with Lamar Jackson, and they'll give you a pretty penny for that.
Yeah. Love the question, Freezy. Makes me want to eat a little freeze pop on this Friday. All I'll say, too, is like I love how we jump on this show. We get the whole way through talking about Joe Burrow and what it means for the Bengals pass catchers, and then, shit hits the fan halfway through.
Immediately, yeah,
it's going to be fun to edit out later tonight. Let's see. We have Daniel Caps Keenan. I'm starting Rondale Moore over Deontay Johnson and Ridley. PPR. Whoa. Is there a different R Moore that I'm thinking of?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm not doing this. I don't know what.
Not either.
Listen, I get that Deontay Johnson and Ridley have burned you lately. I get that Kyler Murray's back and there's some upside for Rondale Moore and the rest of these Arizona pass catchers. I don't know what you're smoking to do this, Daniel, but I want some of that. That's all I'm saying there, because I'm no way in hell.
I mean, when exactly has Deontay Johnson burned you? Last week? Sure.
Yeah.
Right? But like prior to that,
22
in the game before, 16, 13, like these mid-teens scoring outputs are probably pretty close to Rondale Moore's ceiling, right? So Deontay Johnson is where I would go of the three.
Agreed. Bob, I think this one's a slam dunk for me. Should I trade Pollard and Josh Dobbs for JT? If you have a good quarterback, if you have a better option than Dobbs rest season, I'm doing this. We just talked about JT being potential league winner. I think Pollard does have a nice bounce back here. I think there is some upside for Pollard rest of season, but his value is just really cratered right now. I almost think you're better at holding Pollard if you want to flip him to maybe get more value, but JT is great value for me right now. So I'm smashing it. Are you, Eric?
Yeah, I'm assuming that this doesn't leave you in a bind at quarterback, which given the ADP or free agent status of Josh Dobbs, very likely doesn't. In which case I'm absolutely smashing the JT side.
Okay. Appreciate that, Bob, dude. Poop dollar. Make you holla. Shit dollar. Devin Singletary, Pacheco, RB2. Eric, where do you go on this one? I think it kind of comes back to what you said. Like if Singletary is the only guy and there's no Dameon Pierce, I think I'll ride with Singletary in the matchup against the Cardinals, because the Eagles have been fucking great against running backs, and I'm a little worried about Pacheco this week. Are you as far as I am? I know you have him rostered in a couple places too.
Yeah, including the Guillotine League, where I'm gearing
Top
up
6,
for a title run, my guy.
Yeah.
And the analysis on this is spot on. If Singletary is alone in that backfield, it's absolutely Singletary. If it's not, even though Pacheco is in a tough spot, he is largely alone in that backfield. So I would go with the Pacheco side. And shout out, I'm zooming in here. I think that might be Dirk Nowitzki's draft picture.
Yo!
And if so, like my guy taking me on a walk down memory lane, Poop Dollar.
Let's go, Poop Dollar. What a fucking name. What a profile image there. We appreciate it. Derek, is Dameon Pierce droppable now to you, Eric? And I think this just kind of comes down to what kind of league you're in. I'm in a league where 12-team PPR, it is very deep, very competitive. If Dameon Pierce ends up on the waiver wire, someone's going to pick him up every single time. So if you're in that type of league, Derek, I would just suggest to hold on to him. But if you're in like a 10-team PPR league, I think he is droppable at this point.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say in 10-team. He's only rostered in like 70% of Yahoo leagues, right? So like he's out there. It's not a crazy question to pose.
Mm-hmm.
But the tiebreaker, the process that you laid out is exactly it, right? Like take a look at your wire, even sort by rostered percentage. If there's nobody out there that's more than 50-60% rostered, that's probably a good sign that Pierce is going to get picked up. So I would be inclined to hold him. If there's some diamond in the rough out on the wire that you're going to start up immediately, fine, right? Like you can do it. But I think that Pierce has some value and would likely get gobbled up if you drop him.
We got Vinny. Should I trade Chase for Diggs after hearing Burrow's out for the year? Yeah, I would absolutely do this. I pause this video, go make this trade, come back, hang out with us. But I mean, where is Chase rest of the season for you now, Eric? Now that we know Joe Burrow is, because I think realistically he falls down the rest of season rankings for me pretty substantially, probably all the way down into the area of like, I think I'd rather have Justin Jefferson. I think rather have Kupp, Devonta Smith. Like that's Olave or Chase rest of the season. Like that's kind of the range I'm in right now. Are you that far?
I thought you were about to continue on with your Olave slander. I would have Olave ahead of Chase rest of season, but that's no knock on Chase, right? Like, I wasn't intending on updating my rest of season rankings live in the middle of the show, but I'll probably have him somewhere in like the 12 to 18 kind of range when the dust all settles.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And obviously
there.
Diggs is well ahead of that.
Poop Dollar saying 100% the right photo. Appreciate the love.
Yeah.
We appreciate your love as well, Poop Dollar. Hope you're subscribed. Come back and hang out with us again. Here we got Daniel. Just got offered Aaron Jones and Michael Pittman for Monty and Addison PPR. Oh, that's tough. I think David Montgomery is the best player in this trade, Eric. I don't know. I don't know what side is what here for Daniel, but would you be making this trade, or what side do you like better? I guess is the better question.
I mean, of the two, I probably like the Jones and Pittman side a little bit better. I'm not sure what side you're on either, but this would probably be a situation where I would just stand pat. These 2 for 2 or like for like position trades rarely work out all that well. It's just kind of like a personal preference thing. For me, looking at these 4 players, Addison is the one that I'm the lowest on, right?
Agreed.
Like,
yep.
We want to talk about Josh Dobbs' impact on this offense in regard to Justin Jefferson. Now the tertiary option in Addison is impacted even greater if you have that concern, right? So I think there's a point where Addison might not be in many starting lineups soon. So don't want to take on that dead weight if that's what you were considering.
Yeah, he has the Monty and Addison side. So I'm okay with this trade, but I'm like Eric, like keep exploring better options. Like this is the trade you make, and then you're sitting there week 17. You're like, why the fuck did I make that? Like it almost feels like you're just trading to trade at this point. I don't think you're gaining a ton of value there, man.
Which don't get me wrong, is fun. Like it's super fun to be mad active in trading, right?
Yeah.
But you got to make sure that you're making your overall team better when you do it.
Yep. AJ, should I trade Devontae Adams and Devin Achane for CeeDee Lamb? Ooh. He would have him and Tyreek. Damn, Eric. Eric, where do you go with this one? Because I don't know if I am doing this, and I've been the biggest Devontae Adams hater all season long. Wow, that's really tough. I think you're getting the highest value player in the trade by far, but it's tough. Like, I don't know what Achane is.
I don't know how I ended up in this lane, but I'm like the resident Achane
You
hater,
are.
and I have so many shares of him in Dynasty. Like, he's one of my highest rostered players, and like maybe that's why I'm just like staring at him, and I'm like, I don't know what this thing is. Look, like for me, you know, Achane obviously has game breaking ability that we very rarely see at the running back position. So I don't feel great sending that out the door. But I was mulling over a trade where I would send out Achane last night in Dynasty, and I mean, you can make an argument like he's played 4 games in the NFL, so we're talking about like a very small sample size, and also over the course of those 4 games in training camp, he's been hurt twice.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think I'm going the CD Lamb side, but I have to qualify that by saying I love Devon Achane. I hope that we get to a point where he's going to see significant work. If this is a redraft question specifically, I mean, there's a world where they come out of the bye and they get him 15 touches plus every single week, and whoever rosters him just dusts the rest of their league, right? But there's also a world where he gets nicked up again. He's closer to that like 8 to 10 range. Right, like they're in game scripts that don't support him. Right, like I think the surefire upside play is CeeDee Lamb, and look, like you walk away with stacking up Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb, like you're feeling pretty good about your team, anyways.
Yeah, maybe the hardest question of the day here from Connor. Should we tell him to go triple tight end here? Pick 3, full PPR: Sam Laporta, Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, Scary Terry, and Rashee Rice. Connor, let us know if this is a tight end premium league, because I think that would maybe change things. But oh my gosh, this is a really tough one too, Eric. I feel like I gotta lock in Laporta this week. I want to lock in McBride with just the volume he's seeing as well. Scary Terry though, like I love Scary Terry this week. Adoree Jackson. I think that's going to be the matchup. Am I right for Scary Terry's Adoree Jackson? That guy's been cheeks.
Yeah.
That guy has been absolutely dog shit. Like, I don't think I could get out there and play cornerback any better, but I think I know some guys who could. So, I think, oh, damn. Final answer for me, Scary Terry, Laporta, and damn it. I don't know. I'm so torn on Rice or Kincaid or McBride. They're all like right in that tier. Eric, can you help me?
I can help you. Terry McLaurin is the highest ranked of this lot, assuming that we're not talking about tight end premium. And then after that, I'm going to stick with you on Laporta, and I'm going to go Kincaid as the third option here. Look, Trey McBride has been a revelation through kind of like the middle third of the season. Part of that was with Joshua Dobbs under center, who threw to the tight end more than anybody else in the league. He continued to do that with TJ Hawkinson last week. We have a 1-game sample size with McBride and with Kyler Murray. Yes, it was fantastic, but the trade winds can blow another direction in this matchup, and he could be on the wrong side of variance or just see his target volume diminish a bit, right? So I think we have a much clearer picture of what Kincaid's role in the Buffalo offense is.
Yeah,
and
right.
For that, I'm going to go with the stability and make him the third option on this list.
Okay. And we got Rushman saying, I love this guy on the right side of the screen. One of the few who gets it right with Achane. A little love for my guy, Eric. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Rushman.
I'm feeling vulnerable.
Oh my God, this is crazy, man. Let's do some rapid fire because we got a lot of questions left. And I know you have some affairs to get to. I have some affairs. We have some sleepers to throw out. So let's just do rapid fire for the rest of these if we can. Pick 2, Walker, Jones, or Tank Dell. My opponent has Stroud at his quarterback. Tank Dell's a lock for me here. 100%. He's my wide receiver star of the week. I love the matchup. And I think he's just kind of like last guy available, process of elimination. He's the healthiest Texans receiver. Kenneth Walker, hard to get away from him as well against the Rams. I think they're going to try to run a decent amount there. Aaron Jones is the riskiest one to me. I think I'm benching Aaron Jones here. Any digression?
Nope. Jones is hitting the bench.
Trade Chase for Puka.
I would not. But they're much closer, right?
Or trade Chase for Cup. Mandros both.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I would absolutely trade Chase for Cup.
Okay. All right. Got offered Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle for my Rachaad White. Should I consider? I don't think. I think it's Rachaad White, right? Am I crazy? Again, I like Pollard. I think Pollard's going to be a better asset this week, but I think moving forward, like Rachaad White, man, he's just got this on fucking lock, dude.
I would probably take the Pollard side. I mean, look, the fact that this is a conversation really tells you all that you need to know, right?
Yeah.
To the point where I appreciate that you're potentially getting the handcuff in Rico Dowdle, but I would also take a long, hard look at who that would make you cut. Because if it's someone of value, I would probably just stand pat. If you've got a free or an open bench spot, I would probably take the Pollard deal.
Okay. Trade Kamara and Chase for Cooper and David Montgomery or Gus. So he's trading away Kamara and Chase for Cooper Kupp and Montgomery or Gus. Oh, Eric,
It's the same one that was talking about the Chase for Puka deal too.
No, I think it's a totally different one. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. No, yeah, you're right.
Okay. I don't think I would do that. I really want to hang on to Alvin Kamara. His volume has been insane.
Same.
Also, I'm assuming that you're a Saints fan based on your avatar there, and it's fun to roster the players that play for your favorite team, right? So not only do I think that that holding on to Kamara is the better side, but also you get to have a little more spice in your weekend,
There you go. Smurfle. Do I trade Jalen Warren, Noah Brown, Adam Thielen, and Jerry Jeudy for Pollard and Jamar Chase? Yes, 100%. I'm accepting that. Like this is the trades I dream of making. Even though Chase just lost a shit ton of volume, hasn't been the year for Pollard. I think if you have these guys, you're willing to move them. Like Jeudy has no value for me, really. I'm sorry. Noah Brown, he's not going to play this week. We don't know what he's going to be moving forward. I like Jalen, I like Thielen, but they can be moved for those two.
They can. Noah Brown has accumulated more than a quarter of his career receiving yards in the last 2 weeks. Like, I mean, look, like it's a good thing to be part of this Texans offense if you're a receiver, but back-to-back 150-yard games isn't exactly sustainable.
Trade Justin Jefferson or Chase for Justin Jefferson. I would do that 100%. Yep, I think that's a good trade. Trade Chase and Waddle for Diggs or Chase and Tank Dell for Cup. I don't know if I like either.
Dude, are you on the phone with this guy right now? Like, where are these offers coming from? I don't know if I'm doing either of these either. I don't want to get rid of Waddle. I don't want to get rid of Tank Dell.
Shout out Bronson though. He's out here in the chat just like finessing his.
My guy's like he's in the 90s like stock trader bullpen with like 3 phones to his head. Love it.
Jonathan, would you trade Nico and Watson for Chase? I would have CD, DK, Chase, and Sutton in a 3 wide receiver league.
So Sutton would be moved to the bench. I'm probably doing this.
I am too, man. Like Nico Collins, like we love him. We're big Nico Collins fans on this program, but been hard to trust him a little bit lately. Like I think Tank Dell's kind of separated himself as the receiver you want on the Texans, at least staying healthier as of late. And Christian Watson's nothing at this point, which just sucks. So yeah, you got to make that trade, Jonathan. Thanks for the question, buddy. Jason Kincaid for Travis Kelce.
I'm probably not doing that.
Can I get another receiver back, just like a playable guy? And I would do that. I just need a playable guy.
If you get a startable guy, or if you have 3 other starting caliber receivers on your team, maybe. But at first blush, I don't love it.
Yeah. Okay. We just got to this question. We got Kicks Works. Trade Chase. So many Jamar Chase questions. Holy hell.
Go buy low on Jamar Chase. Go put out like 15 cents on a dollar offers wherever you can.
Jamar Chase, would you trade him for DJ Moore and Pacheco? Yeah, I'm doing that. For sure.
Yeah, I think so. Right. Assuming that both these guys slot into your starting lineup, right? You're
Yeah.
getting an upgrade at both positions. I would do it.
Yeah, I don't love either of those these two players this week. So just kind of, I guess you can't even make this trade till next week kicks. But yeah, I'm cool with that, man. Let it ride there. All right, Eric. Shit ton of questions today, man. Like, thank you to everyone in the chat. Awesome to see
Keep
the
'em coming.
engagement, the questions. We hope you guys are giving this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. We also hope you guys are subscribing to the channel. Eric, let's round things out. Short thing sleepers of the week. Who you got for us? We're hot, baby. Let's keep it going here.
Yeah, we're gonna hope to stay hot. And while
Hot.
earlier with one of the questions, I decided to bench Calvin Ridley. That's not how we do things here on Short Things Sleepers of the Week, right? Like we're talking about guys that are outside the top 30 that we think can reach back and get a 10 spot, right?
Reach back.
And look, like that is very much so in Calvin Ridley's range of outcomes, right? You go back to week 1 and he was the greatest wide receiver of all time. Can't believe he wasn't a first rounder. And then he's slowed down a bit, but in that mix, he's still got plenty of double digit performances. His route participation, his targets are all where they need to be. This week in particular, he gets a matchup against the Titans secondary at home that is a little bit softer than average in terms of catch rate, but where they really leak fantasy points is after the catch. They give up a ton of yards after the catch. They let a ton of guys get past them. They're out there trying to tackle with their hands, right? Like, a couple of catches for Calvin Ridley, and he can rack up some pretty solid yaks. So sitting at wide receiver 31 right now, love his chances to get into double digits, and that's going to have him on the flex radar.
It's crazy that we're talking about Calvin Ridley's outside the top 30 consensus rankings right now.
Remember when he was the best receiver ever? That was like 2 months ago.
I know how quickly times can change. And speaking of times changing, let's fire up Jalen Guyton this week. If you need a spot start, this is a guy I think we can honestly have a little confidence in this week. Saw 79% of the snaps last week, caught 6 of his targets for 41 yards and a tutty. And listen, man, like I know this isn't a great week as far as the totals out there because there's just like a lot of heavy favorites this week. But this is actually a game I kind of like to see a little bit of points in. Green Bay versus the Chargers there. 43.5 point over under. That's the 6th highest game of the weekend. And listen, man, I've always kind of fucked with Jalen Guyton. I mean, dude ran a 4.4. 40-yard dash, like 82nd percentile. Like he can fucking fly. I'm willing to let him ride against Carrington Valentine here. And it's so sad. And Eric, you're someone who follows cornerback depth charts very, very closely to see what this Packers cornerback depth chart was coming into the season. We had guys like Russell Douglas on this team. We had guys like Eric Stokes who looked like he might have a bounce back year. Jair Alexander. Now it's Carrington Valentine out there. And I think they're going to attack him. We don't really know how good Valentine is, I think, yet because he's seen Kenny Pickett, Brett Rippon in back-to-back weeks. But before that, Kirk Cousins was absolutely dicing this guy up. So I'm going to take my chances with Guyton out there, especially we don't know if Keenan Allen's going to be 100%. So, yeah, give me some Jalen Guyton.
Yeah, look, I mean, Guyton is going to be out there a ton, right? And he's one of these, skill set type of receivers that can do a lot whenever the ball is thrown his way, right? So the thing for him was where he falls in the pecking order. That's always what's kind of held him down up until this point.
Yeah.
But now in the year of our Lord 2023, it's hobbled Keenan Allen. It is Austin Eckler catching balls out of the backfield, and then it's Quentin Johnson who still can't catch, which is like a thing you need to do to be a receiver in this league, right? Like you can't be out there trying to basket catch it or catch it with your body. So I think we're going to see more and more work go to Guyton's direction, especially relative to Quentin Johnson. And you get a couple more targets going his way and he can do something with them for sure.
Who would have thought we'd get to the point in the season, Eric, where we know Josh Palmer, no Mike Williams for this team. We don't know if Keenan Allen's 100%, and we still don't like Quentin Johnston. It's literally Jalen Guyton. Like, that's just blasphemy. That fucking sucks, man.
It's wild. And this offense is still bananas, right? Like they scored 27 points last week and lost. I heard a stat that that Herbert has 11 games where he scored 27 points and still lost. He's been in the league for like 3 years.
Jesus.
This offense is still grease lightning. Like they're out there just making things work with, whoever happens to be available. This week, Jalen Guyton happens to be available.
Go get him, baby. Grease lightning. Jalen Guyton. Guys, want to thank you all so much for tuning into the show. Easiest way to support us here in Between Media. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, come back, bring in the good vibes for you the rest of football season. And we're not that far away from NASCAR season starting back up and the PGA official season as well. And check out the website, guys, inbetweenmedia.com. We have a shit ton of good content for you. I just did a story earlier today. I talked to Gemma Martinez of NFL Fantasy in Spanish and talked a little bit about some of the struggles Spanish speakers are having, with some of the fantasy football stuff, just, with the language barrier. So that was really cool. We also have a lot of just general fantasy football content, PGA betting, NASCAR over there. So make sure you're checking that out. And Eric, tell us where we can follow the hot streaks over in the college basketball land with you as well.
Yeah, open up a new tab and fire up YouTube, search Green Screens Media. Green Screens, because that's what you're going to see if you're following our Core 4, if you're following our Prize Picks, if you're following our best bets. We're in the middle of holiday tournament season, so we're getting a ton of really good matchups, a ton of super close games, and that always creates a bunch of opportunity in CBB DFS. So you find all that Green Screens Media college basketball goodness on YouTube, and if you want to see any of my random musings or the words that I put on paper for people, all of that rolls into my personal Twitter, which is @FantasyNav.
Fantasy Nav, baby. Guys, if we didn't get to any of your questions, just put them in the comments of the show afterwards, and I'll make sure I go back over the weekend and make sure we're answering those for you. But thank you guys so much. Enjoy this weekend. We only get so many left in this fantasy football season, so I'm excited to ride it out with you guys. Eric, I appreciate your time. And shout out Mike fucking Stoyanov. That guy's an electric factory. It was good to have him back on the show, taking a break out of his busy acting career to spend some time with us today. So thank you guys all so much. We'll see you next time. Until then, you know what to do. Keep it in between.